This is the Horsepower Hour.
Yes, hello and welcome to another of the Horsepower Hour, the only podcast with a salvage title. Joining me as always is our resident pumpkin slut, Hoy Forticus and Masterson, Junior Senior Esquire, Duke of Earl Grey. What do you got there, my friend?
I don't have shit. I was actually just sharing. Oh. Yeah, I'm drinking some pumpkin spice hot tea.
Baby. It is fucking August.
Yeah.
Put that shit away. How dare you?
I did put this shit away last December. And today I was like, you know what? It's a pumpkin spice day. And I reached into my special pumpkin spice vault / cabinet and pulled this out.
Oh my Lord. It's too soon, man. It's too soon.
It's not too soon.
What are you doing right now?
There's no rules. You can't fence me in.
You know that we actually have a pumpkin spice day. We didn't do it last year because COVID, but the year before we had a big pumpkin spice festival. Bunch of our friends came, brought pumpkin spiced everything. One of our buddies even brought pumpkin spice dog treats, which we tried because
they were good. They don't taste good at all.
They didn't taste like anything.
My dog didn't even like them. I had to throw them away.
Yeah, no, they had zero taste. And they had, by the way, zero nutritional value too.
They had to have a negative nutritional value.
Oh, for sure.
It was for sure sucking vitamin D out of your body or something.
So you know how a lot of things these days are gluten-free, or they use some other, it's an ancient grain or something if it's not strictly gluten-free. Those were like extra gluten. They were like all of the gluten. All of the gluten that's being left out of other people's stuff. It was all just compressed into these gluten wafers.
Yeah, no, all the gluten that they take out of the gluten-free stuff, they use that leftover gluten for these dog treats, for sure.
Yeah. It didn't just say, gluten on the box. It said fucking gluten. Like it was just like gluten, baby.
Glute. They didn't even finish it. It was just glute.
I'm trying to remember. It had some fiber in it, and then it had some nutmeg and pumpkin spicy type of stuff, but not enough.
They were supposed to be organic, though.
That's horseshit.
So it's good for you.
It was from Trader Joe's.
Definitely good for you if it's from Trader Joe's.
Definitely expensive.
Cost more for sure. Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though. It's been a weird week for automotive news, dude.
It has. It really has.
It's just been a weird week all the way around.
And we've got exciting stuff. We've got curious stuff. We've got murder stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
We could be turning this into a true crime podcast.
Yeah. Murder. He wrote. He wrote. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Some kind of looks like a love triangle gone wrong, but we'll get into all that.
It's astronaut level. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's diaper astronaut level.
So look, dude, I had something happen that is one of my favorite things to happen ever. So I have been selling some stuff out of the house. We're just trying to clear space. The garden is overflowing. We need to make some room for some new stuff, but I'm getting rid of a bunch of my wife's old jars. And people have been buying the jars. They're a hot commodity right now. They're canning jars, ball jars, cker jars.
Well, it's canning season right now, number one.
It is.
Like people are looking for the jars. And then with COVID and stuff, people are getting a little preppy.
Right. Almost everybody is getting preppy. It depends on what you think you're prepping against, I guess.
Yeah. And we're not talking ascot preppy.
Yeah.
I mean, like prepper, hoarding ammo preppy.
And look at this. We got a Twitch streamer joining us. What's up, man?
What up, my nerds?
Firemedic Smitty. I almost said Sweaty. He does a lot of Forza on his channel, so you should go and hit him up sometime if you like what you have going on here, because he does a lot of that too. Anyways, so I had someone that was driving over from a little town called Philomath to pick up all of my jars. It was 110 jars that we were selling. And they were like, yeah, I want them all. And we're selling them cheap, dude, 50 cents a piece, right? So while they're on the way, I get a message from someone and it says, I'll give you 25 for all of them. And I wrote them back and said, no, thanks. And they were like, well, you're asking 50 for all, and I just offer you 25 because I have to drive. You're not going to deliver them to me. So you need to make me a deal. And I wrote them back and said, actually, I don't have to make you a deal because I have someone on the way to pick them up right now. And then they wrote me back, fuck you. And then they blocked me as soon as I read it.
Nice.
Don't you love when people do that on Marketplace?
So satisfying. You know, it's just like, oh, it makes me miss Craigslist.
Yeah.
At least Craigslist, they'd be like, on my way. And then you just never hear from them again. You know?
Yeah.
I'll give you full asking price. Give me your address. I'll be there in 15. And then went to the Circle K and got stabbed or something.
Yep.
You know, I don't know. Like they were just gone.
My favorite from a few years ago was I was selling a set of 4 wheels and tires, and dude shows up. I met him in a parking lot, and I was not asking very much for these. I think I was asking for $100 for 4 wheels and tires, and the tires weren't shot. Okay, so not asking for much, and the dude shows up. Oh man, I don't know. These are rough. Can you do like 60? And I said, no, you didn't tell me anything about haggling on the phone. So I just assumed you wanted full price, and they're real cheap as it is. So no, I'm not going to drop my price. Well, hey man, I only need one of them. And I said, okay. Well, I'm selling the set. Do you want to buy the set? And he's like, I don't have $100. And I said, okay, great. Thanks. And I started to walk away, and he just yells, thanks for wasting my time.
I wasted your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. My favorite one, and this was a big Craigslist one back in the day. Fire Medic Smitty just says, get fucked. I had an old GMC Sonoma S10, came from like Indiana, just solid rust. You know, this thing was a bucket.
Yeah, but it was pretty dope. It had the 4.3 in it.
It had the 4.3. It was an extra cab, but I mean, it was rusty. The exhaust was rusted out. Thing was rough. Tires were worn out. Somebody had shot the side of it up with a BB gun.
I wonder why the tires were worn out.
Well, the fronts were worn out because the ball joints were worn out. The rears were worn out from massive burnouts.
Yeah, just doing crazy huge burnouts constantly all the time.
So I list this thing up, and I list it for like $900, which it was like a 96. Like, so it was cheap considering that if you never saw a picture, that'd be crazy good deal. But I took a ton of pictures, you know, listed all the stuff wrong with it, rust, like all these things. And then I have people come out and they look at it and they're like, ooh, man, you know, I'll give you $500 for it. Cause I mean, the tires, they'd list all the crap that I listed was wrong with it.
Right.
And I'd be like, yeah, I put that in the ad and I priced it with that in mind. So I think I'll just stay firm at my price. Like, it's a running vehicle and it's under $1,000. I drove this thing for 2 years. Just everybody come out would try and talk me down because of the stuff that I previously had verified pictures of and posted and said everything that was wrong with it.
Here's what you should have done. You should have made a funny listing where all you did was make fun of the truck and make fun of anybody that would potentially buy it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just to set the mood, set the tone, and just be like, by the way, I don't give a crap what you're going to say about it because I already know it's a bucket, but it's running and driving.
I should have.
What did you end up taking for that truck?
I sold it for I sold it for what I had it up for, $50 less or something. It was worth what I was selling it for. It was a good running vehicle for under $1,000. It was a beat up piece of crap, but it ran good. It was a 4.3, like runs forever, you know? Yeah. So, and it didn't have crazy high mileage either. It was just a rusty, I think it came from Indiana, and it was just rusty and nasty. But
if it's coming from Indiana and it's not rusty, you know there's a problem.
Yeah, that's because it was broke down in their garage for 7 years.
Right. It's like a lemon law buyback.
Yeah.
Ooh, are my favorite. It's sprayed down with bed liner underneath. And then when you start poking at the bed liner, you realize that they just like taped a piece of cardboard in the rust hole in the frame and then bed liner sprayed over it.
Ugh. Ugh. I'm so scared of rusty cars.
I worked with a guy. I worked with an engineer, as a matter of fact, and he was looking for diesel trucks. And yeah, he encountered that so often. It got to the point where anytime he saw a truck, if they had the Carfax with it, you know, he would just look at the Carfax. And if it came from Canada, a bunch of these diesel trucks during that time, this was like 2015, 2016, a bunch of diesel trucks were coming down from Canada. And he was just like, why are all these trucks coming down from Canada? And then he's realizing that, oh, these things are absolute rust bucket piles. So you buy them at auction up there for $4,000, you ship them down here. And because they're so popular in the Pacific Northwest and they're so expensive, just generally, they're getting $25,000 for these cars and these trucks, and they just weren't even paying attention to them. Yeah,
there's a lot of that going on still. I looked at a Dodge at a Volkswagen dealership, went and looked at it, and I could see spots on the, you know, the rock panels where paint was bubbling. I popped the hood and there's rust. And I'm like, where's this truck from? And I popped the glove box open and the registration was like Maine. Turns out the owner was buying these at auction and shipping them. Same thing. Just shipping them from other places where it's all rusty. They get here. People don't really check the rust because there's not rusty vehicles here. And then he just charged a premium.
I actually feel a little bad talking about this because I'm pretty sure Smitty went through this with his truck. He's got a remind me, Logan, is an F-250 or an F-350, but it's a diesel lifted. You know, it's a brodozer, but it's a little bit of a pile. I'm not, you know, hey, I'm trying to be nice about it, but here's the comment right here. Firemedic Smitty says, I have a pile, dude. Yeah, it's a little bit of a pile. Yeah, F-150 with the 6-liter.
350.
F-350, yeah.
Yeah, with a 6-liter. Ugh. Get ready to pull that cab, bro. Cab swap.
Coy, your dad has a work truck that's a F-250 6-liter?
No, his is a 6-liter 350.
His is a 6-liter 350.
The cap's been off at least once.
Oh, yeah. He's had that thing bulletproofed.
Yeah, he bulletproofed it at like 200,000. I think he's pushing 3 now. But yeah, no, I mean, if you're willing to pull the cab and do the work, then they can be decent rigs.
Doesn't he have an upgraded turbo on that too?
Yeah, it's got it's just barely upgraded, but it's got a chip and whatnot. But it's a good work truck.
Well, look, it's like if you have a Mazda Speed 3 and the turbo goes bad in it, are you really going to replace it with a stock Costco brand muffin size turbo? You know? No,
you're going to get a dinner plate, stick it in there.
That's what I'm talking about. So like a Cork Sport, and anybody that knows Mazdas, they know Cork Sport because Cork Sport's all Mazdas, but they have CST4 turbos and then CST4 plus turbos, and they're stock replacement, like bolt right in. As a matter of fact, I think they were running a $250 or $300 off deal here a couple of weeks ago, which, you know, in the grand scheme of things is a $1,300 turbo. So it's not like the largest amount off, but it is something. What is that? 20% or 18%, something like that. So, I mean, it's not bad. But the thing I liked about those turbos is even just their base CST4 bolt-in turbo replacement, I think that caps out at like 420 horsepower. And right. So you've and the stock internals of those engines, 400 horsepower all day long, you're not going to have a problem. You know, with supporting mods, obviously, you're going to need to do the intercooler. You're going to need to do some kind of a fueling system, so like a methanol injection, and of course, high pressure fuel pump and stuff like that. But it's a pretty straightforward road to modding those. And when it comes to the diesel trucks, that's the thing that I've always liked about them, because you can literally just buy those bolt-on pieces for diesel trucks. I mean, shit, when I worked for Baxter Auto Parts, I had a customer where he got a diesel truck and he just said, yeah, I'm going to take this as a drag strip. We're going to be running 10s. And he just had this very calculated upgrade path and almost everything bolted right in. And it was a manual truck. So he came to me to order a twin disc, clutch masters, something. And the clutch came in and, you know, 50, 60 pounds is just massive. Talking about a dinner plate. It was huge. And, but no, I mean, the more I talked to the guy, the more he came in and got stuff from me. He just was like, yeah, this is the upgrade path. It's sort of like getting a, 10-second DSM. It's like, here's how you do it. Here's the parts you throw on.
This is the recipe. Follow it.
This is the way.
This is the way.
I've never watched The Mandalorian, but I like saying that.
I've seen like 2 episodes of it. Seems like a decent show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of getting huge discounts on really good upgrade paths, we have a deal going on, you guys. If you go over and review this show on iTunes, you will be automatically entered to win a 20% off discount to San-Am powder coating. San-Am is, of course, our summer-long sponsor, and we love those guys. They're doing super good work. Roy is amazing. He's a Rembrandt with a powder coat gun. And Coy, what do you think about the reviews that have been coming in so far?
Well, we had some good ones there for a little bit, and then we've had nothing. So here's the deal, guys. Sure, you're just going to be entered to draw on this, but at the rate we're going, you may be the only one that gets entered. So you got a high chance of getting this 20% discount. 20% discount's a big discount.
If you're doing one wheel and you're getting it powder coated, that's, 20% off. That's all right. you want that 20% off. But let me tell you something. If you got a whole set of wheels or you've got a side-by-side that needs your cage done,
Yeah. Now we're talking.
That's right. And this 20% off coupon could really change how much you end up spending on this and getting an even deeper discount on super high quality work from the guys over at San Am Powder Coating. So I implore you to, first of all, go and check out their page. That is one thing Roy told me, is he has seen quite the uptick in traffic over on his page, which I love to hear. And I appreciate you guys doing that for us. So go please and check his page out. It's literally just facebook.com/San Am Powder Coating, and give him a like and check out the stuff he's doing. He posts some really fantastic photos. I need to share some of those photos over into the Horsepower Hour because he's got some really cool stuff he works on. And of course, once you go and check his page out, go over to iTunes, man, leave us a review. You don't have to do anything beyond that. Review the show. You can love it. You can hate it. You don't even have to give us a 5-star, although anything lower than a 4-star, and I'm just not going to pick you to win.
Well, we know you're lying.
Right. I mean, listen, I'm petty. I'm not a liar. You get me?
Yeah.
So please do that. Enter to win your chance at a 20% off discount from San Am Powder Coating. What is this comment right here from Smitty?
All that it needs is head studs for the bulletproof. Rig is not NOLA road friendly.
New Orleans. He's in New Orleans.
New Orleans. Gotcha.
I'm not trying to be a dick about this, and this might sound a little tasteless, but who in their right mind lives on the coast below sea level? I've just never understood that. They're always like, the hurricanes are so bad in New Orleans. Well, you still live there. And that son of a bitch is underneath the waterline.
That's kind of like here in Oregon, like, oh, no, that place is in a flood zone. That's a 50-year floodplain. So the insurance is going to be higher. And, you're going to get a flood every 50 years. At least you're not living below the dike. You know
That's
what
what
I mean?
I'm talking about.
Like literally
your sex tape.
Yeah.
Speaking of living below the dike, I think it's time for us to move on to the news, Coy. You ready to do this?
Do it.
Did you like that segue?
That was an amazing segue. That's not going to get enough props.
So this is sad. This is a very sad story.
Is it though?
Natalie Millet, or Millet, because she's Belgian, so it's going to be Natalie Millet.
Yeah.
I already know I'm mispronouncing that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Thank you. She's the appointed CEO of the Spa Francorchamps circuit, basically a Ford F1, or excuse me, a Formula One racing boss, was killed alongside another woman by her husband, who then also killed himself. Now, there is no talk in this article about what the scenario was, but just looking at this one single photo, not knowing anything about this woman, what exactly do you think the scenario was here?
So if this had happened in Texas, I guess in Texas, there's a law. If you walk in and find your significant other in bed with another person, you can murder those two people. And then they'll just kind of be like, well, we understand it was in the heat of the moment, and you'll do like community service.
Really?
That's what I've been told.
Interesting.
Hey, honey, let's go to. Yeah, no, never mind.
If I knew a friend that actually did that, I would drive past his work crew multiple times. I just do laps playing the song "Heat of the Moment."
Was the heat of the moment.
We might mix in a little bit of
shooting his wife.
So, I mean, yeah, you got to ask yourself, first of all, it's Belgium, so only rich people are going to have guns. And obviously, they're very wealthy here.
That was one of my questions. I thought that shootings were something that didn't happen in Europe unless it was like gangster stuff. But apparently this guy had a gun.
Yeah, well, we're starting to see, and we do this every week, Coy, where we start going into a conspiracy and then you're like, wait, we can't do that. But, I mean, has there ever been a time in the history of the world? Actually, no, there probably has been other times, but I'm just saying the history of the modern world as we know it, has there ever been a time when the division between the super rich and the rest of the people has been more apparent?
Oh, yeah. No, it's pretty apparent. And just looking at this picture, it's pretty apparent to me that this guy's wife was in bed with another woman.
That's the way it sounds.
I don't want to stereotype, but looking at this picture, I was surprised that she had a husband. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So It doesn't say that, but I think we can all assume that. And then some of the memes that have been going around about the next year's F1 championship is going to be in Afghanistan, stuff like that.
Yeah. I'm just throwing this out there. How ugly does the mistress have to be for the husband to not walk in and go, oh, I didn't know you were into this. Well, let me just, I'm going to take a quick shower. You guys
keep the bed warm.
Yeah. Cool yourselves down, but keep the bed warm. I'll be right there.
Well, I can only assume that this is not the first episode. You know what I mean? They've already worked through the first affair. And everything was good. We kept it quiet because, celebrity status, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. Positions of power.
Yeah.
And then this happened again. And this guy was like, absolutely not. Or wait, Belgium, that's French. I don't know. But anyways, yeah. He did something like that. And then I'm assuming he had like a pump action shotgun and just.
Sure. Well, that would make sense. It's not going to be a high capacity pistol or something.
Well, it's probably a single shot. Somebody's running around screaming as he's trying to load one. Breaks the action. Chewed my thumbnail off. I can't get this round out. It's probably horrible, horrifying.
He's
18 seconds later.
He's stuffing silverware down the end of a blunderbuss.
Literally bites the end off his powder horns, pouring it down the end of the barrel, pulls the packing rod out, takes a piece of paper, tears it off, sticks it in there, packs it, drops a lead ball in, packs that some more, drops some more paper, pulls out a percussion cap, puts it on.
Let me tell you something. If you murder two people with a muzzle loader, there is nothing circumstantial about that. Like, it can be nothing but premeditated. There's no.
If the first one wasn't, the second one was. You had 8.5 minutes to figure this out.
For sure. If you're just standing there telling the person running around the room, like, shut up, I'm going to get to you in a second, and you're, vigorously trying to pound this thing shut. So there's two scenarios for me when a person turns after they've killed somebody and then they turn their gun on themselves. There's two scenarios. There's the scenario where they go, holy fuck, I just did this. Well, my life is over. I'm just boom. And then there's the other one where they know they're going to kill that person. And then they know that they're just going to be like, fuck it, I'm out too. Bye.
Here's what I'd like to see in these murder suicides.
There's
suicides.
Something you'd like to see?
Well, yeah. I'm just saying, I find my wife in bed with her female lover, and then in a fit of rage or premeditated, whatever it is, I kill them both. At that moment, I know I have 12.5 hours. Like, I'm going to game. I'm going to go buy a freaking cheesecake, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to sit there. I'm going to eat cheese dip and nacho. Like, I'm going to order so much fast food. I'm going to have the best 12 hours of my life. And then I'm going to kill myself. This part where I do it right then, I don't understand.
Yeah.
Like, I have some time here.
Well, with that amount of time that you have, I'm pretty sure you would figure out a way to, like, duct tape the gun on the end of a broom handle and then have a string and, like, roughly aim it at your own leg and pop a shot off and then stick the gun in the hand of the lover.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, then you're getting deep into premeditated, but I'm assuming I've already decided on the path where I don't leave this house alive. Aren't you going to just, go ahead and these guys had a wine collection. You know what I'm saying? They had a cellar. They're rich people. They had a wine cellar. You're going to go get that 1967 out and go ahead and just drink that straight up. I'm just going to drink it from the bottle.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm going to go ahead and knock off some of the condiments in my house. I'm going to leave the fridge open. You know what I mean? I'm going to eat a gallon of ice cream.
You're going to turn the AC all the way down.
I'm not going to be one bit worried about heartburn. I'm going to eat a pizza with extra pepperoni.
I'm going to suck down an entire case of raspberry cream, Shasta raspberry cream.
Well, that's what you do. If you're super rich, I'm guessing you're hitting the wine cellar. But yeah, no, I'm going to get the case of raspberry cream. I'm just going to go ahead and the whiskey bottles and the liquor that I have in the back of the cabinet unopened that I'm saving, like it's either going to be worth money or I'm going to drink this when my daughter gets married or something. Guess who's opening that right now?
Right. And you know what? Instead of suicide inflicted by a gunshot wound, it would be, we don't know how he died of diabetes and alcohol poisoning at the same time.
Yeah, that's for sure premeditated because the timing to actually overdose on alcohol and blood sugar.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tell the cops you took an entire bottle. Just don't tell them it was Tums.
I took a whole thing of, I'm literally in there with a thing of Pepto-Bismol doing whiskey sour boilers in it, you know? Well, now that YouTube's
Smitty says, give the corner some good smells when they crack you open. Ugh.
he's going to cut me open and see what I ate. He's like, well, he ate a TGI Fridays, apparently.
Yeah, the body is still exuding gas. We don't know what's going on. They're wheeling you in.
Fire medic Smitty asked if we're going lover or wife first. I don't really know.
Lover first.
Honestly, I'm gonna try and go for a twofer. If I'm quiet enough when I come in, you know what I mean? Ammo's expensive.
Yeah.
Now that we're gonna get deplatformed.
Yeah, we've already been pulled off of YouTube for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. On to some lighter news, Coy. So the Acura Integra, everybody's super excited about it, right?
I really am myself.
It's the weirdest thing because the NSX Type S, the newest one, got announced, and there's been almost no fanfare for that. Everybody is way into the Integra instead.
There is some speculation that the Integra is going to have some NSX technology in it. Like this is going to be a front wheel drive with an electric rear.
You think so?
I don't think so, but there's talk that this could be a hybrid all-wheel drive.
I don't know, man. I don't know. So
would you be surprised? Like, I don't think they will. I think this is going to be a re-sheet metaled Civic R. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't be surprised if they tried to do sporty hybrid.
Okay. All right. I can see that. And of course, we're looking at latest car news, and you can follow everything that we're talking about using links underneath the description of the podcast. So you can follow along if you'd like, if you're listening to the audio podcast. If you want to watch the video sometime, we normally go live at 8 p.m. on Sundays. We're actually going live a little bit early today. And I forgot to ask you, Coy, can you share it into the Horsepower Hour podcast page? Because I am still serving a 30-day ban from all groups for things that I posted in 2014. Mark Zuckerberg was using that Wayback Machine. But listen, man, this Integra, this render, it's all renders right now.
Of course.
We've seen the camouflaged version of the vehicle. Coy and I were doing some comparisons earlier on in the day. This particular render from Latest Car News is the one that we all want and we all like and we all love. I think it looks spectacular. It kind of looks like an RSX in some ways. It's like if an Integra and an RSX had a baby, and then the baby was sat on a new Civic Type R chassis. And then this back end, Coy. I'm actually a big fan of the way this looks.
It's reminiscent of an RSX more than a Integra for me, but I mean, RSX really was just an Integra with a new name for some reason. I don't know why they decided to do that.
And the RSX was fantastic too.
Yeah, no, great car.
Yeah, the RSX Type S with the better K20. A1, A2, I forget the numbers now on the K20s, but those were awesome. I mean, 200 horsepower, close ratio, 6-speed, helical limited slip. They were fabulous. This one, of course, we're expecting it to have the 320 horsepower, 2-liter turbo out of the new Civic Type R.
So now I'm going to throw this out there. Now, if it looks like this render and is sporty and isn't some kind of hybrid thing or on an Accord chassis, if they're really truly making it as sporty as we think they will, and I think they will. They released it at Pebble Beach. They did a big drone show spectacle, I guess, which was amazing for the release. Honda has been going back and forth with the front wheel drive Nürburgring records. The Honda Civic, original Honda Civic Type R, the American one, not the old, B16s.
Right.
It took the record, and then it was like a Renault or something, and it was like they made like 400 of these ultra race tuned ones, just barely beat them. Then Honda, I think somebody else then beat that. Then Honda came back in like 2018, solidly took the record, and then Renault or somebody did it again. But beat them. They're in about a 4-second lead right now off of the old Honda Type R.
There is absolutely no reason they wouldn't make this Integra specifically to take that crown back.
I feel like they have to have that in mind, right?
The Nürburgring is the test zone for everything. Like if you have the lap record at Nürburgring, and honestly, I don't even know if that means anything real world anymore. I don't. because there for a while we were ending up with these cars that were super fast on the Nürburgring, but they're kind of shitty to drive around, like real world driving it around on imperfect roads. They were too firm. They were too bouncy. We had a lot of that happening. Mercedes and BMW famously had a couple of their, like the Mercedes, the BMW M4. I remember the first iteration of that was very firm. And a lot of people were like, this is just not comfortable to drive.
Well, I myself am thinking they're going to take the record back. I think they have that in mind. It's an Integra. It should be a little sportier than the Civic. Should be. In my mind, the car that beat them, I know, basically beat them because it had fat, meaty, damn near R compounds on it from the factory.
Right.
But it was a special edition of like 400 cars. Hardly any were being made. So it is hard to beat stuff like that when we're like, oh yeah, we just put 200 treadwear tires on it from the factory and they were huge. So that's hard to beat when you're Honda and you're going to make hundreds of thousands of these,
right.
But I think if they don't take that record, they're going to try hard.
I agree with that. Now we've shown you the first render. Here's the second render. And this is the reason why Coy was saying, hopefully it's not on an Accord chassis, because the second render of the Integra, it just looks like an Accord coupe.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, had I never seen the other Integra renders, this doesn't look bad. I mean, the back end has a little kind of a wide body thing going on.
I don't know why they do these mustard yellow renders, though. It's so ugly.
I mean, yeah, I'm not sure why you would pick that color when you could pick any Integra Type R, Championship White, the Midnight Black or whatever, the red, that aqua blue. Like, there's iconic Type R colors you could pick from.
That electric blue.
It was a great color. Almost purple.
Color. I always love that color.
I'm a big fan of the Championship White Integras.
Oh, for sure.
For me, those are that's the iconic color. Like, if I were to just have a magic wand and was picking an Integra, I would definitely go with the Championship White.
So for me, the red badges are the reason why I'd pick the Championship White, because there's something about the white with the black and red outlined logos that just looks really, really good. And it looks racy.
Yeah. And it's iconic. At this point, there's a nostalgia to it and whatnot. The other colors I love, but if I could just pick one, I'm going Championship White.
Sure. The sunburst yellow seemed to be really common. We saw 2 or 3 of the yellow ones, true Type R's.
Yeah, honestly, I think a lot of people would pick the yellow because that's the nostalgia. That sunburst in a lot of the JDM ones that you saw that were iconic. Spoon classically always uses that color mixed with that pastel blue. So
does June.
Yeah. No, I can't think about June. I start getting hard and then I can't. God, June's awesome.
I don't like this one as much. You're right.
I don't like it as much, but it's a good looking car.
Yeah.
I already saw the other one that looks so much better.
Judging by the camouflaged version, I don't think this is the right render.
I don't think so either.
I think it's this other one.
There was a release of a camoed one, with that crazy padding they put on them and stuff. Somebody had caught a spy photo of it. This was a couple weeks back. Honda immediately denied that it was real and then released it and said, okay, maybe it was real. And it looked more like the better looking renders we're seeing.
It would be interesting to be an automotive journalist that's out there trying to take photographs of this stuff. I mean, I assume you just have to go to the factory and wait around.
Yeah, you're like paparazzi, but
right.
Yeah, you're just literally sitting there in a car with, a pile of cigarette butts out the driver's window.
Right.
Yeah.
I wonder if like Honda or Ford or any of these companies do like the Kardashians did, where they would call ahead and be like, oh, we're going to be coming out of the airport. And back before the Kardashians were anything, and the paparazzi was just like, who the fuck are you? But they still came and took photos of them. That was that and Kim's sex tape, which I've never watched personally. I know you haven't either, Coy.
I have no interest in seeing Kim naked.
No,
not even a little bit.
Nope. I definitely, not even for research have I ever watched it. Yeah. But anyways, I have to wonder sometimes, like, are manufacturers ever doing that? Because how are you paying your bills if you're just sitting around outside of these factories trying to snap photos of something randomly? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I agree. Famously years ago, I can't remember, it was like a Ford pickup or something. They caught the guy with a picture, and the test driver was flipping off the guy taking the picture. It was a power move. I'm sure he got fired, but still, I loved it.
Worth it.
Worth it. Mac Reed says, I want one. And then he says, did I just say that? You know, that I think it looks really good. I mean, it's a good looking car. It looks very small too. So that's the camouflage spy shot I saw. It was parked, and I don't remember what it was parked next to, but it's a small car. So that's part of the other reason why I think they're going for a track record with this. It's small.
Yep. If they had the balls to do a 2-seater, like a true 2-seater Integra, no back seat. Fuck it. Who needs the back seats? Ooh, you know what? Go super old school. Instead of back seats, you've got those 2 hatches that you can open and stuff like a loaf of bread in.
I would actually like to see the sides, the jump seats that fold down from the sides. Ooh. So it's like, yeah, for insurance reasons, it's actually a 4-seater. No one's sitting back here. you could tell your wife you bought a 4-seater. Like, that's what this is.
Well, more importantly, tell your insurance 4-seater.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, no, it's not a sports car.
So the reason why I was talking about all this, you know, what exactly does the paparazzi look like sitting outside of these factories, is because paparazzi sitting outside of factories has caught this. Ford caught benchmarking. So this article from Ford Authority, it just says in the title, benchmarking the C8 Corvette, but that's not the whole story. Ford has been bench testing around the test track at Dearborn, the Ram TRX, the Tesla Model 3, the Jeep Gladiator, the BMW X7, and the Audi e-tron. Now, I know for a fact, since this article has come out, they've also photographed Ford testing around Dearborn, the Challenger, the Charger, the Hellcat, a few other sports cars as well. And people are starting to wonder, I mean, look, it's not like this is corporate espionage. They're just figuring out where things are at. They're getting benchmarks from other manufacturers so that their next generation stuff can be up to par, right?
So is this just a standard thing they do every so many years where we go and we buy everything, we benchmark everything so we know? Or are they building something right now and they need to beat everybody by 10/10ths?
Well, that's a lot of vehicles to be testing. I mean, that's a wide range.
It's a wide range. I get that, but I mean,
the TRX, obviously, they're bench testing so that their new Raptor can come in right where it needs to be. The Tesla Model S, they're bench testing because electric, whether we like it or not, that is in the cards now. Bo Jiden has said by 2030, we need to be selling purely electric vehicles. The Jeep Gladiator, I mean, that's a no-brainer. The BMW X7, that one makes me a little curious. And the Audi e-tron means that they're wanting to work on something that's electric and performance minded.
So this leads me to question, are they actually just benchmarking things for the sake of benchmarks? All these really have been benchmarked already. Or are we directly comparing this against some other vehicles? Like, that kind of, in my mind, almost makes more sense. Like, we already know how fast all these are without a fraction of a doubt.
Sure.
Right? Like, we don't even need to test these.
But what we need to do is sit in them and feel them and see what the interiors look like. What do we like? What do we not like? That sort of thing. Really go through them with a fine-tooth comb, right?
So let me throw this out there. If they're making the Raptor RR or whatever, which I'm certain that they are, to beat the TRX, are they finally going to do a real Lightning with an RR motor? And that's why that's why we got some of this other stuff going on?
I don't know, man. They've got, I mean, the Lightning is a pickup and it's an electric pickup and the name fits. So I don't know if we're going to see quote unquote a Lightning, but I think what we could be seeing is Ford figuring out where they're going to go with their next generation of stuff. I would love to see a Mustang that competes with the new Corvette.
So there has been some spy shots and video, somebody like in a tree outside of a track, of an all electric, not a Mach-E Mustang, an actual Mustang that was all electric. And this, I almost hate to say this, but the sounds this electric Mustang was making was heavenly. The high pitched, like, RC car scream coming off this thing.
Oh, really?
Glorious.
Really?
Annoyingly loud electric motors. But, like, I will take it with I will pit that noise against a V8 Lope any day. Like it was just screaming, and they were doing some fat burnouts and stuff. So my thoughts are maybe that is being benchmarked against this while they got all this other stuff. We're benchmarking the RR. To be honest, I mean, Bronco's out. We could be benchmarking the Bronco Warhog Raptor thing, whatever it is going to be.
Sure, true.
I mean, all that stuff is being built years ahead of release date. So they could be kind of, working on some new stuff. I'd like to think that.
Smitty says Ford coming in with a Corvette competitor confirmed ? Maybe. Ford Ranger flips down, baby. Hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I feel like the Mustang is more of a competitor to the Camaro rather than the Corvette. That is very true. And we've talked about this on a previous show. Technically, Chevy doesn't have a replacement for the Corvette yet, but what they do have
Camaro.
Camaro. But what they do have is the Cadillac chassis, the CT4 and the CT5. And so I think that's just going to be the next natural progression. Nobody's really talking about that. And here's the thing, Coy. I think we'd make terrible automotive journalists because we're not just throwing wild, grotesque speculation out that's completely left field. We're not doing that. We're actually applying logic.
Which doesn't work well with clickbait.
No, it doesn't.
No,
we need to be talking about articles where we're like, Ford confirmed they're going all electric, and then they're closing their doors. They're starting a new website to compete against BuzzFeed. Like, that's what we're
renaming themselves to Dorf. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's some just bad automotive journalism going on.
And Mac Reed, going back one article, never a huge Honda fan, but I love that new Type R. I'm the same way.
If it's what we think it is, it's going to be glorious and could start a whole new fad. I mean, the Honda boys could be back, bro.
Honda's, I've never been like a super fanboy, but I have a respect for them.
I'm the same way. Like, I've obviously owned multiple Hondas, and I would never have considered myself one of the Honda kids, but they're good at what they do. It's undeniable. So,
and the reason I bring that up is because now that we have all of this, frankly, healthy competition between automotive manufacturers with the new Corvette and the Camaros and the new Mustangs, and of course all of the Challengers and the Chargers.
Yeah, it's a modern muscle car era right now. We're going to look back at this, and this era, this decade we're in right now, is a muscle car. I mean, this is going to be 1969 all over again at some point.
I think so, because you go back 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago, cars were just cars and trucks. They felt very generic. Everything felt like it was pretty much the same. There were no bad vehicles being made except for the smart cars. Those were terrible. But like, realistically, you could buy just about any car, and I mean Hyundais and Kias too, and be pretty satisfied with them. And Hyundai and Kia have really filled that lower market, but their prices are starting to come up because they're really their reputation's getting better. They're starting to meet that mark, right? But now, with all of these different performance vehicles coming out, it's a resurgence of that hot rod era.
Yeah. At this point, honestly, everything's good. So, like always, it's the Ford, Honda, Ford, Chevy, and Dodge trucks. I hear like which one's best, and it's like, pick the seats that's most comfortable for you and the color you like.
Yeah,
and then decide what truck you want. Like,
does the B pillar touch my shoulder? Yes or no?
Yeah, just pick what's comfortable for you, and then get that one. They're all good,
right? So
when they're all good, it's hard to really say, oh, this guy, has more towing, like this gets 1 mile per gallon better. Like, so at a certain point, you do have to go off performance stuff.
And styling is starting to make a bigger difference too, because
I don't think so. Because have you seen the new Chevys? They look like a upside down locomotive on the front grille.
I'm sorry, but I think it's going to hurt them though.
I think it looks hideous, and I think it should hurt them, but
I'm just saying the new TRX is a perfect example of that. The TRX doesn't look like a TRX. If you debadged it, it would just be any other Ram F.
It looks like a retro 1500.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think that there is going to be a little bit more thought put into that, or at least I hope that there's going to be more thought put into it.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, the new Corvettes, I'm still a little bit on the fence. I don't know if I like the way they look or not.
The new Corvettes, they should have never had the option to not have the front downforce package where there's like the hole through the hood. With that, they look incredible. Exotic. Without it, meh.
And you get rid of that weird the rear spoiler, and they just look weird.
Yeah.
They're like the BRZ FRS in that way. When you lose the rear spoiler, you go from a sports car to a Camry.
Yeah, they need to have the aero package like that's base.
Yeah, 1000%. There's just so many of these cars where I don't know, they just don't quite. Everything is going modern, but not in a modern way that I would want to see.
It's going
them.
modern, but it's also going to a global chassis
Mhm.
setup, which does hurt styling.
I'm sure it helps sales.
Well, it cuts down on build quality, or I mean build price, when you can use the taillights out of other vehicles and you're using these chassis that are in the same chassis in 15 other vehicles, you know.
Yeah, but fuck all that. We need to have really good specific market stuff. I'm sorry, but that's just, I don't know. I think I shouldn't say the lazy way of going. Everybody's trying to save money, and I understand that, but like at a certain point, you need to balance that bottom dollar with what people actually want. You
I
get
agree.
me?
I want to talk about this comment from Mac Reed. More worried
Well,
about the V8s.
First of all, Firemedic Smitty says Chevy is superior. He drives a Ford, so it's ironic. Can we just bring back the T-top Stingray, please? Depends on which Stingray it is, man, because some of those have not been great. I wouldn't mind seeing like an old body style, like a C2 Corvette on this new Corvette chassis. I know that that's completely impossible, but it would be hilarious if somebody made something like that. The proportions would be terrible.
Yeah.
Forget I said anything about
I like
that.
the idea. It's just physics.
It's a mid-engine car now, so you're not going to be able to do that.
Mac Reed says more worried about V8s making exit from the muscle car lineup in favor of hybrids and electric, as awesome as they are. I share that. I'm gonna throw something out here. I honestly feel like when the Hellcat motors, once those are killed,
Mhm.
I think we're on the downhill slide to hybrids and turbo small displacement motors, even in the muscle cars per se.
I don't even mind the turbo small displacement motors, but I don't like the idea of you either have a 4-cylinder or you have an electric.
Yeah, no, I don't. What I'm trying to say though is I do believe we're just about hit the decline on the V8s.
Mhm.
And that's part of the reason why I think this is the new 1969. This is going to be the new muscle car to look back on, is because this is the final hurrah.
Mhm.
The next 5 years are going to be the final hurrah, and then we're out.
Mhm.
We're going electric. We're going weird hybrid setups. Not saying that those cars won't be fast, but they won't be muscle cars.
Sure. But they will be fast.
Yeah.
The new Model S Plaid from Tesla.
God.
I don't have anything pulled up for it, so I apologize. We're just going to talk about this a little bit. There's been a new record set. Tesla Model S Plaid, all stock, right? I think with race tires, but all stock otherwise. Nothing but a driver mod. My driver mod, I mean, the fella that was trying to set the world record was 200 and some odd pounds, so over 6 foot tall. Went and found a 150-pound dude and almost got the record back and was like, well, what can we do now? Went and found a female racer that was like 98 pounds and then set the world record. 9.08 in the quarter mile. And I think about 160 miles an hour from a Model S Plaid.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. It's not just a 9-second car. I mean, it's almost an 8-second car.
Yeah, it's right there.
Yeah. I suppose you can say from the factory. It's not exactly.
That's one of those special edition type things where it's like, okay, technically it's factory, but how many of these will be owned?
And then your later question is, once people start getting into upgrading the software and things, so let's say you have a dual motor Model S and it's only ever had the 500 horsepower, whatever they have,
Yeah.
Are you a software upgrade away from having 900 horsepower?
I mean, theoretically you are, but I mean, surely Tesla is going to lock that down. I mean, they can't have people doing that.
And we've talked about
and every time you take that in to get work, that thing's going to get an update, and that algorithm's going to get more secure.
Sure. Ooh, it's going to be like jailbreaking your phone, but you have a jailbroken Tesla.
Yeah, and then you take it in and they do something to it, and it's like, gah!
Yeah,
they've reformatted my car, and it's only got 500 horsepower again.
Do you remember when we were talking about that all-electric Porsche I forget the name now.
Tachyon or something. That one.
Yeah. But they were using a 600 volt system instead of the 480 volt system that a lot of the other cars are using.
Yeah.
And that just means that there's more juice flowing out of those batteries. The connectors were much bigger. The battery pack was able to flow a lot more juice out of it. And that's really what took them over the edge and made a really good performance vehicle that was all electric. I'm sure that we're seeing some of that as well. Battery technology is going to catch up. You and I have talked about graphene batteries. We've talked about lithium iron batteries. We do need to move away from the lithium and cobalt batteries and motors, though, because, man, lithium's not going to last forever, and neither is cobalt.
Oh, no.
Neither is iridium. Fun fact about iridium, the majority of the iridium on the planet comes from the mineable iridium, comes from meteorites, because iridium is so dense that it's found very, very low in the crust of the earth. So you'd have to mine super deep. So the majority of the iridium that we have actually comes from meteorite sites.
Yeah. There's several minerals like that. When you tell people that, they're like, okay, you ancient UFOs, huh? And you're like, no, that's common knowledge. Like, iridium's from outer space. Like, it's how it works.
Yeah. And if it had hit the planet and got mixed in with all the other elements, then it is going to sink to the bottom. That's the way it works. Throw some fucking salt in your water glass. What does it do? It goes to the bottom because it's heavier. It's denser. Let's see here. Mac Reed says 1,000 electric horsepower. Yep. Firemedic Smitty says prices of used Chevys are stupid even for a clap truck. I think that's every truck right now because you can't hardly get trucks.
Even more so in the Northwest.
Mac Reed says Dodge is going out kicking and screaming. That is 100%. I have a fat tongue tonight, Coy.
Is it because you're on your fourth glass of whiskey?
This is only my second, you motherfucker.
Since the show started.
You watched me take the wrapper off of this bottle of bourbon. Thank you very much.
That means you finished one right before I got here. I'm not dumb.
Firemedic Smitty. Ooh, this is a good one. Can we touch on how Tesla has vehicle options that are on a subscription base? Yes, dude.
That irks me.
Oh, it's horrible.
Irkens me. I mean, it only makes sense, but the subscription based stuff, if you would stop buying the subscriptions and just buy it, if you just, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I used to go in and get my phone upgrade, and I'd go in and I'd be like, I want the newest iPhone. They'd be like, well, it's been 2 years. So you get a free phone and it's going to be a $400 phone, or you can upgrade it to the $600 phone. You got to pay the difference. And I'm like, gladly. Then all you poor pieces of crap went in and didn't have any money. So you got set up on a subscription plan to get these phones. Guess who can't get it? I just have to go and pay full price. The poors did that to me.
Yeah. It's the lowest common denominator, because we have to think about this. Every manufacturer aims for the lowest common denominator, right? It's for safety. It's for performance. That's the way it is. They have to aim for that lowest common denominator. The vehicles where you can't turn traction control completely off, lowest common denominator.
Yep. And I've never in my life I've been touched so sensitively by this kind of stuff. Just
Not
this
since
week,
you were in Catholic school.
Just this week. Yeah. Just this week. Homeless has never really affected me. I just kind of drive by and I'm like, wow. Once in a while they paint on the side of my truck or pee on something I'm working on, but it's never really affected me. I was working deep Portland. We're talking by your old place between Foster and Division, just down, actually about a mile east of that. Nasty, dude. Just horrible. Third world. I ate something bad that morning or the night before. I don't know. But all of a sudden I just said, look, man, I got to leave the job. I got to go find a bathroom. And I got to do it now, or we're going to have a problem. So I get in a dump truck and I leave, and I just go to a gas station because that's what you do. I'm, and once you've gotten to the gas station, your body has started the countdown.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I was in a bad way. I was sweating, you know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Where it's not hot out. It was a cool day. It was like 72 that day. I'm sweating and I'm like, whew. I pull in, I can see the door to the bathroom. It's locked. I'm like, I gotta get a key. So I go trucking in. I'm like, hey man, can I get that bathroom key? He's like, sorry, no customer bathroom. And I'm like, what are the chances? All gas stations have a bathroom. So I hop into the truck, Now I'm really sweating.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm getting front sweat, like boob sweat going on.
Oh, did you have that moment where you thought you were going to shit your pants and you just sat there and you clenched every muscle in your body?
Not yet. I'm getting
Okay.
to that.
All right.
So I head down the road. I go to the next bathroom, next gas station. I go in. Yeah, sorry. Bathroom's out of order. Really, bro? There's not a sign on the door that says out of order. Then I get in the truck and I just give it a 20 count. I can't push the clutch in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I put my foot on the clutch and I go, nope, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm in a bad way. I get the boob sweat going. Like I'm already feeling like sick to my gut, but now I'm feeling sick to my stomach. Like I'm holding in poison at this point.
And just real quick, Merrick Reed says, never trust a fart.
Oh,
Not when you're in this.
I was way past trusting a fart. I couldn't trust a long stride at that point. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I see what's happening here. Homeless people are using your bathrooms and passing out in there. You're locking them. So I have to jump up to Stark. I go from Foster to Stark. Oh my God. I've already gone down division of ways. I go to Stark. I see a bathroom on the side. I check it. It's locked. I roll in and I see the guy and I'm like, please let me have a bathroom key. And like, I think he could see in my face how serious it was.
You're white as a sheet.
And he kind of started to say something and I was just like, please. And he hands me the key and I go in there. And you think this is the end of the story.
No, I don't.
It's not.
No.
Trust me, it's not. This is like 10 o'clock. So I go back to the job and I'm working. And about noon, I'm like, man, I think it's round 2, right? I'm starting to grumble again. And I tell my boss, I'm like, look, man, I know I did this once, but I got to go. I'm going to have another problem.
And why is round 2 always more urgent than the first round? Have you ever noticed that?
Because my muscles are fatigued. Like, you know what I mean? You've already fought a hard battle and you thought you won. You know what I mean? And then you just see more bad guys coming. You're like, I have hardly any ammo.
Yeah.
I've got a bullet wound through the side over here, you know? Like there's blood leaking off my forehead into one of my eyes. I can't see straight. No stamina. Like I'm out. So anyways, I think, okay, I know that I'm 6 miles from that last bathroom. And I feel like I used a favor already with that guy. I don't know if I come back, he's going to let me.
Well, especially if he went in there after you to make sure you didn't shoot drugs or anything and was hit by that noxious wave.
So that was 3 bathrooms on the first count. The second time I got to the first gas station, I went a different route. Dude's like, yeah, no customers. I whip in the next one. I see an old white guy with a beard. I'm like, this guy will understand. I'm like, hey, man, can I please use your bathroom? He's like, yeah, of course, man. Why? Yeah, of course you can use a bathroom. I was like, oh, thank God. So I went in there and destroyed that bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
But still, that I feel like is solely because of homelessness affecting me. And now the subscription-based stuff with my phone affecting me.
Mm-hmm.
The pores are affecting me. I'm not even rich.
Yeah.
Like I'm starting to understand why there's a class division, though. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like
yeah.
I get why rich people get stuff that we don't.
They're forcing the middle class out one bathroom at a time.
Yeah. I wish they would bring the middle class up with them
Yeah.
instead of they're shoving us down with the pores.
So my go-to bathroom has always been Starbucks. Pretty much always. Like if I have to go real bad, I just do a Google search for Starbucks because I always know that their bathrooms are going to be clean, accessible. I don't have to talk to anybody. I just walk in, beeline.
I was by your old house off Foster.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the nearest Starbucks?
Oh, fuck, dude. I couldn't even tell you. They've all been shut down.
Exactly.
They were all burned out. Yeah.
Yeah. Kevin Moore says new Toyota solid state is supposed to be superior, far superior to what we have today. I'm sure it is, which I believe Toyota just won the overall at Le Mans today. So
Firemedic Smitty says Tesla subscription turned into a shit story. Classic Coy.
I'm just saying this, we all got to stand against these subscriptions.
Yeah.
That's the only way. Just don't buy the subscription.
Could you imagine if Tesla had a toilet seat, like a seat that you could use as a toilet, but only in a subscription basis? So you're having a moment like that and you're like, oh, thank God, I've got this thing.
I got my credit cards and stuff. I drop it. It falls between the seats.
Yes.
And then I'm like, oh no.
Dude, could you imagine if you had like the free trial, right? And they just waited. They knew that they would cancel your free subscription once you were having like a bathroom emergency.
God, I wish there was a toilet in my car. It'd be amazing.
So just on the back of that, I've got a couple of buddies that are police officers. I remember the last time we were having a barbecue over here, and they were talking about how when you have to go urgently, and of course they're wearing their, police, everything's on their belt
yeah.
buckle. It changes from a belt buckle to a padlock that you've forgotten the pattern to,
Yeah, you've caged yourself in.
Right. And it's just like, okay, what do I do now? I can't get this thing off, not in the heat of the moment. And the stories about that, as a matter of fact, the stories about how they preferred the new Ford Explorer over the Dodge Charger, because the Dodge Charger, every time they got in, their gun and their handcuffs and everything would just catch on the fucking seat, tear the seat all up. It was uncomfortable. Like the center console is still in the Chargers, right?
Yeah.
And so they'd hop in, and now their gun is being smushed into their side because it's just so uncomfortable being in this Charger. And all of them preferred the Ford Explorer, especially if they were at a precinct where they ordered the Explorer EcoBoost because they were faster than the Chargers, tons of room, no center console or any of that shit. Like, you just slide in and fucking go.
Yeah, I know a cop that has just got a Durango cop car and loves it compared to the old Chargers.
Oh yeah.
Says it's faster, more comfortable, it's better in every way.
So on the heels of that, will there ever be a scenario where we have electric cop cars?
Oh, there has to be.
I know there has to be, but think about how hard cops are on pretty much everything. There's a reason why you can get retired cop cars at 40,000 miles for $1,000, and it's because the brakes are completely toasted, and they've been toasted multiple times.
Well, I feel like actually an electric cop car is the way to go. Because, I mean, there's no warm up. Cop cars, cops never shut their cars off.
And regenerative braking.
Fuck,
I forgot about that, bro.
And I mean, as far as maintenance and stuff, there's a lot less on an electric car.
Oh, Fireman Smitty has a good one. Chastity belts for shits.
Classic. That's what that turns into.
That's why you need to go and check this kid out. This is why I call him DJ Lowgun. He's actually had a couple of nicknames, few I can't say on here. You know, just the normal stuff. Listen, Coy, I think it's time to get into Overland as Fuck. This is something you sent me, and it's pretty cool, but it's not anything I ever expected to see, really. I never really thought about it. So let's check this out.
Overland as Fuck!
The Pro Eagle Phoenix DS Air Jack. Why do they do all of this stuff? Pro Eagle Phoenix DS. That's like Pro Eagle Fury Fan Power Super Uber Duper.
And I also like to point out it's the Pro Eagle, and then we name it with another mystical bird, Phoenix.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're going after the city, but I'm assuming that's after mystical bird, Firebird Phoenix. DS, which have no idea, and then Air Jack, which it's not really an Air Jack, it's actually CO2.
Yeah.
So all around the name is shit.
So with the Phoenix, you're rising from the ashes, and this is a jack, and it's rising you out, hopefully not from the ashes.
The part where it explodes and then is reborn is not.
Right.
So this is an Air Jack, so...
Oh, I'm skipping right over the video, by the way.
Yeah, we don't need to play. You've all seen the famous, like the Japanese touring cars, they pull into the pits, hit a button, and the whole car jacks up.
God, I love that so much.
I know. It makes me so rock hard. There's no point for me to ever have those, but I want them so bad.
If I could ever have a car that required those.
So this is basically just a handheld version of that. It runs off of just your standard CO2 bottle. The little, I know our listeners probably done a lot of whippets, but yeah. So...
And Kevin Moore just quickly says, sounds like a car jack, but use it once type.
Technically, yes, but I mean, you can have more than one CO2 cartridge with just a standard CO2 cartridge. It only lifts, I believe, 1,600 pounds, which isn't a lot. But if you're just changing a tire, that'll still change a tire on most mid-size vehicles.
Yeah, or UTVs, ATVs while you're on the trail.
Pretty much lift the whole thing off the ground if you're going UTVs or ATVs.
Because this whole system, I believe, is like 8 pounds.
Yeah, it's very lightweight, small, and it also has 17 inches of lift.
What?
So it's a chunk of lift.
Wow.
Like, this is designed for off-road stuff. And I believe enclosed was 8.5 inches tall. So it's not super big, and I mean it's kind of bottle jack shaped esque.
Mm-hmm.
8.5 inches tall, 17 lift. So it's going to get your stuff off the ground. Now, obviously, this 1,600 pounds is probably not enough, but you can use a power tank, or if you were ever on the paintballing, remember the little CO2 tanks you run your paintball gun? With one of those, it gets us 4,000 pounds of lift. That's pretty awesome.
So Kevin Moore just said that leaves out the overland of Toyota and Jeep guys, but with this, scuba tank, paintball tank.
No, then it's 4,000 pounds. That's a chunk. You can lift the back end of a Toyota pickup up or the front end. You easily lift half a vehicle.
Now, I wonder if this could work off of compressed air as well.
I'm sure. I mean, there's no reason it couldn't work off compressed air.
But
obviously,
it has to be thousands of pounds.
If you're bottling the compressed air, though, you would have to have like a bomb, actual scuba diving tank, so the safety of carrying that around with you, and you're not going to get near as many repetitive lifts as you would with a small CO2 tank. And a lot of these overland guys are carrying a power tank anyways because they use that instead of an air compressor. So yeah.
Smitty says this wouldn't even touch the frame of his F-350 unless he had $1,000 worth of wooden 2x4s.
Well, it might not touch the frame, but I guarantee it's going to touch your axle, which is really what you want to get off the ground anyways. So if you're just changing a tire. Also, the other nice thing about this comes with a huge base, an actual plastic base. So if you're in sand or snow, boom, still lifts it up.
And we also have to keep in the back of our minds, if it lifts 4,000 pounds, it's not lifting your entire truck off of the ground. It's lifting one part of your truck off the ground.
So, I mean, honestly, 1,600 pounds is going to get your tire off the ground. 4,000 easily get your tire off the ground.
Right.
Like, no problem. And in a hurry.
Yeah. If you're just doing one side of your axle to get the tire up off the ground. Yeah.
I think this thing's really cool. I would like it if they had it so you could just hook it up to like an onboard air compressor. That I think would be cool.
I was wrong. It's 5.6 pounds. This thing is tiny.
It may weigh less than the jack that your truck came with.
Interesting. Oh, that's pretty fascinating.
Yeah. It's super, super Olaf. I would consider running one of these, but they're very expensive. I don't remember the price now, but they're not cheap.
Yeah, I don't actually see a price here for it. So I'm a little curious. I'm going to dig into it just a little bit more. But Coy, I have a question for you. There have been some jacks where they're not the fastest thing in the world, but you can throw like an electric impact on it and lift it. Do you think this could replace a jack like that? Would you prefer it over that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. This is going to be faster than the impact for sure.
Well, faster, sure. But is it going to be more reliable? Would you trust it more?
If you already have a power tank, if you're already using one for something, then absolutely, definitely worth it. With something like this, though, for me, using the whatever CO2 cartridges, if it lifted 4,000 pounds with a regular CO2 cartridge, and I could just keep a handful of those in the glove box, still it would be awesome. I mean, this is $500 is what these cost.
Yeah.
That's not with a power tank.
Right.
That's just using a CO2 cartridge. A power tank's probably $300 or something like that. So, you're going into $800. But if you look at like the new ARB high lift style jacks, dude, those are like $800. So, and it's a lot smaller and stuff. You can't strap it across your hood like the new ARB high lifts and be super overland and cool. But when you pull this out, way cooler, honestly.
Yeah.
I like it.
If you could use paintball tanks or maybe like a small home brewing CO2 tank, something like that. I don't know if you can. If you can, then that cuts down a little bit on that entry price because you get the jack for $459. Then you hop on Craigslist and you type homebrew into Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace. So you're
still going to have to get the regulator from Power Tank, I'm sure, or some CO2 place. So you're into it $150 or something for that regulator. But then yes, you can get any CO2 tank will work. It's the magic's in the regulator. All the CO2 tanks are, that's a standardized technology. There's nothing special with the tanks.
Do you know of anybody that pumps their tires up with CO2 tanks?
Oh yeah. Lots of guys do.
So, I mean, if you had a couple of CO2 tanks, that could be your full trail solution.
Our friend Ryan has a power tank. So he uses air compressor a lot nowadays, but he used that power tank all the time back in the day. But the thing is, even with a good power tank, and he has a good sized one, I mean, it's, 2 foot tall.
Yeah.
And, 6 inches around, decent sized CO2 tank. He'd still, with 35s, he'd fill those up, 5-6 trips,
Mhm.
and then you have to go refill that thing. Most places you don't just walk in and get it refilled.
Mhm.
You exchange it. So if you have a fancy, good-looking bottle, and you ain't gonna just go exchange it for one that looks like it gets hooked to a Coke machine.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
So you got to leave it there. You got to come pick it up in 3 days. So there's kind of that whole deal. It's kind of a pain. But for a jack, hopefully you're never using the jack, honestly.
Right.
And if you just have that little Coke can sized, 20-ounce CO2 bottle, dude, stick that in there and forget it.
Yeah. This is the overland version of a car coming with a can of Fix-A-Flat. Yeah.
Exactly.
Which I think is a travesty, by the way. Manufacturers that do that need to be, the engineers that do that need to be drug out into the street and shot, quite frankly. Fireman Xfinity says weight reduction opportunities for the Gambler 500. That is true. Kevin Moore says a very versatile high lift is never replaceable in his opinion, but it also can kill you. I'm just throwing that out there. I mean, they call the high lift jacks Widowmakers for a reason, right?
Yep.
CO2 question, is CO2 easier to compress than standard air?
No, not necessarily, but CO2 turns into a liquid when you compress it.
Yeah.
So the liquid, once it's compressed, is stored at a much lower PSI. So CO2 tank is, you can't quote me, but it's a couple hundred PSI. So it's not super dangerous.
No, it's thousands of PSI.
CO2?
Yeah, I'd swear CO2 is 3,000 PSI.
I don't think so once it's in the liquid state, because that's the whole idea, is it's safer. If you broke that bottle, it just liquid would come out really quickly. Whereas an air tank is it about like a scuba diving tank's 3,000 PSI or 2,500 of air. It doesn't get turned into a liquid. It just compresses. And then if something happens, it either explodes or it turns into a rocket, whereas CO2 doesn't do that.
Right.
So CO2 is just, it's a safety factor more than anything. And you can actually hold more because that liquid is much more energy dense than compressed.
Right. Wow, fascinating stuff here. It's important stuff we're learning today. We're about to learn something else. We're about to learn how many people you can kill with a lawnmower. Coy, you ready to do the Fab Sui?
Yes.
Our fabricated suicide this week. Coy sent this over to me. And let me tell you something. I don't even know what to say about this. I'm actually going to open this up so we can see a bigger image of this. Coy, what do we got going on, man?
We have a squatted, I believe it's a Craftsman lawnmower. It's squatted to it's so squatted, it's almost a chopper.
You can't really, because it's a solid rear. There's no suspension in a riding lawnmower, at least not the ones I can afford.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really squat it. But what this fella has done is a 4-foot lift in the front
and standard in the back. This thing's it's got to be pushing 45 degrees.
1,000%.
He's removed the deck, sadly. But man, you got to lean and look over the side to drive this thing.
Oh yeah. And it is straight pipe, so it's going to be shooting some flames.
It's straight out of the hood, yeah. So it's almost in your face.
That might be the one good thing about governors is once it hits the governor, it's going to start popping and banging because that the motor's not in good shape. It needs a tune-up real bad. That it is just basically throwing fuel at fouled spark plugs at this point.
Yeah. And honestly, this thing is not as modified as a lot of our Fab Suis. He's basically just fabbed a lift for the front axle of 4 foot and then threw on some rock lights and stuff. And the description is amazing.
Do you want me to go ahead and run through this?
You run through the description.
Beautiful 15 horsepower Craftsman Kohler Commander OHV sitting on a 4-foot front lift, fully custom built. Measured in thumbs, so nothing is completely straight, but it's 2021, so you can't even be completely straight anyways. This is true.
True.
They say pornography has screwed with the sexuality of an entire generation.
Oh, I believe it.
Hood stack straight pipe, so it's louder than a raccoon in a tin can. I believe that. It's got rock lights lighting up the rear fender wells and the front lift. Don't look at the welds too close. I did them blindfolded for fun. Relocated gas tank because the thing was too tooted, which apparently is what they call it when you, Carolina slam the back end.
Yeah.
What's it called? The Carolina squat.
Mm-hmm.
So when you Carolina squat something, it's tooted.
Tooted. That's a good thing to know.
So it's way too tooted. and it wasn't getting gas. Headlights work and are great for stargazing. The steering could use some work, but it's great to let sit in your yard and let your wife rip you a new one until it disappears. Runs and drives, it's slow, but I'd rather be slow so people can fully admire the work put into it as it's screaming down the road at 3.5 miles an hour. No deck, but if you put a deck on it, it would make a great bushwhacker or stump grinder. Shoot me an offer. I know what I have, so don't lowball me.
So, as always, what is your body count on this, Andy?
Are we going deck on or deck off, Coy? I feel like we need to go deck on, right? Because if I buy this, I'm definitely putting a deck on it because I need to tell my wife I bought a riding lawnmower.
True.
And if it's got no deck on it, then she's just going to be like, get rid of that piece of shit. If it's got a deck on it, then I can tell her, oh, no, it's
Say all
functional.
that with an Australian accent.
What's that? I forget now, but there's a guide to Australian, and one of the words is whale. I forget what it is.
Yeah.
Anyways, it doesn't matter. So deck on this thing. Here's the scenario I'm seeing. So I'm driving this around the neighborhood. You know, we've been looking at maybe going somewhere else in the United States. That's not really a surprise. I've been talking about it for years. I've been wanting to get out of Oregon for years, right?
Mhm.
So let's say I move to North Carolina and I've got this thing and I'm like, all right, now I'm going to fit in with the locals because I've purchased a home in a not great neighborhood, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There's maybe a little bit more Section 8 than there is Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
You following what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm picking up what you're putting down.
So I grabbed this and now I'm using it to tow around my barbecue trailer because I'm trying to drum up some business. All right.
Yeah.
I'm an independent businessman now.
Yeah. Can't say it.
On patrol.
Entrepreneur
on patrol.
Entrepreneur on patrol. That's a great kid's show.
That's the name of my autobiography. Strangely sexual. Never thought I'd go that direction, but
I
is.
would say that's the name of your sex tape.
Okay. Yeah, fair
Entrepreneur
enough.
on patrol.
Yeah. Sweet baby Ray's poured over my feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm driving this thing around and I'm trying to drum up some business. Okay. But I don't realize that the blades are engaged. I have no idea because normally when you have your blades engaged, you're seeing shit getting thrown around at the bottom. Okay.
Yeah.
You hear the sound of the blades, but this thing clearly I've turned the blades on and all it's doing is giving me forward thrust. All right.
Okay. Yeah.
So I'm driving along and the blades are going and I'm towing my barbecue trailer and I'm drumming up some business for my new barbecue company. And I'm driving through this bad neighborhood. And I'm not saying what the ethnicity of the other people are, but I'm just saying, looking at a white man on this, towing a barbecue, they instantly have questions. They're not good questions.
It's questions they're shouting from afar.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I would like to think that the questions are, hey, how much is your barbecue? I'd like to get some. But instead, the questions are more like, get the fuck out of here, white boy. Okay. So I'm cruising along on this thing and people are gesturing at me and I'm waving back at them because I'm too far away. I can't tell what their gestures are. Right. All of a sudden you got folks coming out of their house and they're looking for some good barbecue or they're trying to chase me out of their neighborhood. One of the two.
Yeah.
But I can't tell because I'm at a 45.
Either way,
angle.
they're chasing you. Yeah.
Right. Well, they're stepping out in front of me because they want to stop me either to taste my delicious barbecue or beat my ass. And I don't know which it is. I'm going to assume that it's the former. They want some of my delicious barbecue.
Yeah.
So they're walking out in front of me, right? And they're trying to get a real scope on this thing. What I don't realize is the brakes have been disconnected on this. So even if I push the clutch in, those blades that are spinning, they're actually pulling me forward. They're giving me forward thrust because they're moving so fast and I don't realize it. When I take it out of gear, it actually speeds up. The limiter on the motor was what was keeping me from going faster because those blades were trying to propel me forward at an even faster rate. So I push the clutch in, there's no brakes. All of a sudden I'm speeding up.
You're freewheeling. Yeah.
And there is nothing that I can do. I am flying forward and there's literally nothing I can do about it. I reach over, I try to turn the thing off. The ignition's fucking broken. Like it has a start, but the stop never was reconnected. And now all of a sudden I'm just freewheeling. There's nothing I can do. Not only that, but I can't see anything in front of me except for the 3-foot blue flames being shot out the straight pipe of this. Okay.
Gotcha.
And I can't hear anything. So people are screaming at me, but I don't know what they're saying. All of a sudden, this crowd of people that's formed in front of the mower I'm blasting through them at a lightning pace of 6 miles an hour.
Gotcha.
And I don't even know what to do. I'm trying to steer. The steering doesn't work. It's now broken. All it will do is just go straight at a pace, a full speed, breakneck pace of 6 miles an hour. And all I can hear is flames and pops and bangs, and then a very muted scream as I watch red mist be sprayed out the side of this thing. I think
should have left the bagger on.
Should have left the bagger on, dude. At least
So
then I'd be catching the gold teeth if I'd left the bagger on.
Okay. We already been deplatformed, so I can just say what you want to say.
Sorry.
So what's
I
your
meant
body
grills.
count?
I didn't mean gold teeth. I meant grills. Sorry.
So what's the body count you think?
I'm going 12, a solid 12.
12.
Yep. 12 before.
That's higher than I would have thought with this.
Well, so 12 until the bone chips really start bogging the mower down and they're able to drag me off and beat me to death.
So 13.
Well, yeah, a baker's dozen.
Baker's dozen. Okay. Okay. That's hard to follow. The body count on this isn't quite as high for me, but it's still higher than I would have thought at first glance.
Sure.
So obviously I'm going deck on, not deck off.
I'm so sad that there aren't more people listening.
Mr. Miyagi here. Yeah. Deck on, deck off.
Yeah.
So I'm going deck on. This thing's obviously wherever I live, it becomes a little bit of a local legend because I'm going to be bombing around the neighborhood on this thing. I probably got a wagon behind it giving kids rides and stuff. Local fair time. I'm in the parade. This thing's clearly meant to go in the parade. You know what I mean? You get in the parade, somebody's going to scream Papa Wheelie. This thing's literally halfway there.
Yeah.
So I'm going to, obviously, I will succumb to peer pressure. I'm going to dump the clutch. I'm already sitting at a 45. It's going to come up real high.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to fall off backwards. Obviously, I'm going to save myself. The first thing I'm grabbing, that big deck lower handle. I'm going to pull on that. I'm going to continue following. It's going to come out of my hand. Now the blades are engaged.
Yeah.
And it's going to go right up on the sidewalk. And there's just going to be a string of old people and children in their lawn chairs. I mean, the sidewalk's packed. They're going to try and move out of the way. But there's only so much they can do.
But you're right behind the marching band, and they can't hear it coming.
The float in front of me is probably throwing candy. No one's looking at me, you know?
Oh, the little kids are running out to grab the candy.
Well, thankfully, because I'm on the sidewalk now.
Sure.
And there's all these folding chairs, you know, all these camp chairs with old people in it.
You're suddenly doing COVID's job.
I'm probably going to take out, I'm going to go 4 grandpas. I'm going to take out. So my body count's 4 before a folding chair gets, you know, a camp chair with all that canvas and thin sheet metal poles going to get lodged up there and kill it. But I think 4 is my body count on this.
Wow. Okay. Not what I was expecting, but probably a more subdued and a more realistic number, probably. Because you're going local, right? Like you've got this here in Oregon.
Yeah. No,
this is the Almsville Parade.
Yeah, this is Cornfest, bro.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm curious what other people are thinking about this, what their body counts would be on this, or whether or not they would buy it. What would you pay for it? Right now, it's up for $123.
Is that 123? Or is he just throwing 1, 2, 3 up here?
You know, it's 1, 2, 3. He doesn't know how much he wants. Frankly, he doesn't know how much it's worth. If he took that lift off and put it back to the way it was, it would probably be worth $500. The way it is now, it's probably worth about $100.
Yeah, no, I agree. Fire medic Smitty sounds like a good time in my line of work. Pretty sure he's a medic, so.
Kevin Moore says, my question would be, why are you smoking and not talking about the barbecue? Well, I'm trying to talk about the barbecue. It's just that everything else is so loud.
I think he says, what are you smoking? And I'm not talking about the barbecue.
Oh, what would you be smoking? Well, you know me, I'm a whole hog guy.
Yeah. No, I don't think he's talking about the barbecue though. I think he's like some lemon kush.
Yeah.
Something like that, you know?
Well, listen, if I was in North Carolina, you know, what do they grow over there?
Yeah, we're in Oregon. Like, world's our oyster, and that in the smoking department here in Oregon.
Yeah, we don't have to be taboo about it. That's for sure.
True.
So, Coy, you go 4, I go 12, but these are wildly different scenarios.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen.
I want to hear from you guys out there, though. If you're listening to the audio podcast, drop us a comment. Let us know how many people you think that you'd be running over. How many lives is this thing going to claim? And if you're watching along right now, throw it in the comments. We want to know. We want to see it. Okay.
We want to know how much experience you gain. Like if this was an RPG game, how much your experience would go up after you got this mower.
Exactly. What would be your what do they call it? RP?
Yeah, I don't know.
Your ratio of kill to death.
Oh, yeah.
KD ratio.
Ratio. Yeah. This was,
I'm going 12-1. I'm going 12-1. Whistling Diesel would pay 5 G's for it. Yeah, you're probably right, actually.
Yeah.
And then he would wreck it horribly.
Yeah, he's going to get hurt someday bad.
Mm-hmm. Either it's going to be because he wrecks one of his trucks, or it's going to be because he's trying to, mess around in a town he shouldn't be messing around in.
I think it's going to be him just slamming a Jeep or something into a pile of bricks, and then he's going to compress his spine one day.
God, one can only hope.
It would be nice.
Which reminds me, we should move on to our last segment, Coy.
Do it.
Smoking Deal or Smoking Adobe.
Now, I have to admit, this is a last-minute sub-in for Smoking Deal, Smoking and Doobie, because I had the most amazing Smoking Deal, Smoking and Doobie lined up. It was a trike with a fiberglass body around it, and it truly, honestly looked like a penis. But unfortunately, that thing sold or got pulled down, so we had to sub in. And I just want to warn you right now, I am not liable for whatever happens to your eyeballs. This is a 1988 Pontiac Finale, which is another way of saying it's a Fiero with a really terrible body kit on it.
Body over? Like, I don't know if this body kit at this point, like it's been reskinned. It still looks awful, but obviously professionally done. So me and Andy talked about this before the show. I believe it's in UK. Candy Cars made these.
Mm-hmm. Candy Apple Cars made 25 of these. No, 32 of these. But this is the only known survivor.
The rest killed themselves.
I was going to say this one's definitely like, please kill me. Guaranteed.
It appears it's got like the front bumper off of a Catfish Camaro.
With a little bit of a Pontiac Sunfire thing going on.
And then the rear is very Geostorm looking,
Mm-hmm.
but then weird round.
It's a very roundy body with a very non-functional spoiler. It's got these scoops on the sides, Coy, and normally I like the scoops, but these go nowhere.
No, they just go straight through.
Yeah. So the scoops are completely non-functional. One could argue, we put the scoops on because it's supposed to be, racified. Except for it's not racified. What motor does this have in it? It has the 2.8 liter, right? Has there ever been a more disappointing motor than the Pontiac 2.8 liter in the Fiero?
Not that I'm aware of.
Literally, you could have gotten the 2.5. Okay. The 2.8.
Wildly disappointing as well, though, to be fair.
That is fair. But when you compare let's just compare the two real quick. Okay. The 2.5. 120 horsepower, 140 foot-pounds of torque. The 2.8, 120 horsepower, 150 foot-pounds of torque. The 2.5, 25 to 30 miles a gallon. The 2.8, 17 to 22 miles to the gallon. So you literally are getting no more power. Wait. Let's look at the power curves. You ready to look at these power curves?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, look, they're identical. Weird.
Yeah. And all this was happening while the Toyota MR2 was for sale. The first gens.
Yeah.
That's the most mind-blowing.
Almost more mind-blowing. We talk about this constantly on the show, but car and driver saying that they would take the Fiero over the Toyota MR2.
I know. After doing all the tests with the Toyota beating it in every way, in mile per gallon, in speed, in build quality, and they're like, yeah, it just drives better than the MR2. And it's more fun.
That voice actor, I always loved him. For our money, we'd take the Pontiac Fiero.
Well, they would for their money because Pontiac paid them to say that.
Every time I try to show that YouTube clip, we get demonetized, it gets blocked, it gets copyright struck. I got to find a way to upload that clip. Maybe I'll just share it from YouTube into the Facebook page because I want people to watch it. It's like 8 minutes of the MR2 whooping ass wholesale. And then at the end, car and driver just being like, for our money, we'd take the Pontiac Fiero.
The best part is on their test track when it goes, they show the MR2 going around the corner, nice and level, looking good. Pontiac comes around the corner. And wasn't it the Pontiac SO or whatever, the performance version?
Yeah, it was the GT.
GT, just insane body roll. Looks like a long travel Baja truck coming around the corner. Leaning like a trophy truck, just tires squealing.
The brakes were worse. The 0 to 60 was worse. The lap time was worse. They said that the interior was better. That's a fucking lie. That's a lie. Their brand new Fiero that they were trying to lap, I guarantee you it had a cracked dashboard. I guarantee it.
Guaranteed.
So anyways, getting back to our Smoking Deal, Smoking a Doob. This is a UK based company that made these body kits. All in all, for 1989, 90, 91, whenever they made these body kits, they're not the worst thing in the world.
So I hesitate to call it a body kit though, because I'm guessing these things didn't get registered as a Pontiac Fiero. They got registered as a Candy Cars, whatever the hell this is now. Like this is like the Winnebago Toyota Trekker conversion or something. Like it's actually its own car.
And let me ask you this, man. This was a car that was this body style, this body kit, whatever you call it. This was designed well before the Catfish Camaro came out. I wonder if Chevy looked at this and went, hey, man.
One could think.
Fucking like that body style, yo.
I mean, it is wildly similar. And yeah.
It has a little bit of like a Ford RS200 thing going on from the side.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't sound too blasphemous.
No, it's from the side. It does have a touch of that. So what is this guy asking for this piece of machinery?
Coy, a paltry, a trifle, an absolute bargain basement, Coy.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you could find this car any cheaper. This might actually be even cheaper than a Fiero is worth. $15,800.
Wow. So I don't really know. The interior's been
the velour
done in Velvet Crush and things. That just reeks of cigarettes.
It is a 5-speed manual. I just want to point that out. Well, so it probably adds $300 to the value.
Yeah.
20% onto the value.
And 76,000 miles. So, I mean, low mileage, like in the seats and everything. Like this thing isn't all worn out looking. 78,000 actually is what it says.
And there is a shot of the engine. And look at that custom intake manifold that says Finale on it.
It's got powder coated red. Vacuum lines everywhere.
An absolute rat's nest.
So this is a tough one for me to price. Oh, there we go. There's the VIN plate, Candy Apple Cars.
Fiero Fantasies. Ooh.
Yeah.
I've been to that strip club before.
Womp, womp, womp. So new registered design application number. Okay, yeah. So this is its own car. Like this isn't just a Ferrari body kit slapped onto one of these. Like it's its own thing.
And the name Candy Apple Cars. Have you heard a more cocaine fueled car name?
Fiero Fantasies and Candy Apple Cars. This dude definitely had a porn studio on the side, like for sure. Man, I don't know if 15,000 is like a good number for this. It's the last one. They only made 23. Does anybody care? Like, I'm assuming Jay Leno wouldn't mind throwing this in his garage, but who else would? There's got to be some Fiero files. Is that a thing? Or all Fiero owners pedophile? Is it? Yeah, I mean, maybe that's redundant if they're all
pedophiles. Yeah.
Yeah. Fiero files.
If I saw Adam LZ driving this around with his little rat mustache, I would think to myself, definitely a pedophile.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
plus it's only got 2 seats, so he's definitely not cruising for the fat kids. Like you can only fit one child in there, so he's definitely looking for the pretty one.
So hard no on 15K coming out of the comments. Official car looks like an eBay placard. I mean, yes, it is, but this is a 1988, so it's well before eBay.
Well, so Candy Apple Cars formed in 1991. So I'm guessing that this is probably built 91, 92, 93. And I mean, we're going to apply some logic here, Coy. I'll assume that this was the first and last vehicle that they ever tried to build.
Yeah. That's a fair assumption.
They built 32 of them.
I'm guessing they built 32 of these. The owner got taken out in a sex trafficking scandal.
They sold about 6 of them.
Yeah. Man, I don't know. I mean, it's the only one left. Like, that's a thing. There's guys that are going to be nuts into Fieros, that would want this, and 15,000 for some super rare version of a car that you're into. Not a crazy thing to say. Also, you got to think this is in the UK. Stock Fieros may go for more money there. Like,
oh no, this is in Georgia. This was imported to the US.
Oh, this is in America now. Ugh. Okay. Man, I don't even know what to say. 15K is crazy. Now, I usually break these down by like, how could this be reproduced?
Yeah.
This can't be reproduced.
No. You could reproduce the body kit, sure, but there's
no reason.
Right.
That Jurassic Park line. We're so worried about what we could do. We never stopped to ask why or whatever, or if we should, something like that.
Yeah.
That same thing here. They were so entranced with what they could do to rebuild a Fiero. They never stopped to ask themselves if they should be rebuilding a Fiero. Man,
it's not even the formula. It's not even the 3.4.
It's so I can't break it down into what would it take me to rebuild this. And I have no way of putting a market price on this. I mean, that RS Impulse RS that we did a couple weeks back.
Oh, you're making me hard.
Ended up going for 11.
11.5 actually.
11.5 more than I would have thought, but there's some crazy Isuzu guy that was a golden car for him, and he was willing to pay that.
And honestly, I'm so proud of that pick too, because you said 9,000. Andy Lowenthal said 9,500, and I said, no, this thing's going to go for 11.
It was a good call,
and it went for 11.5. I was like, oh,
I just don't even know any Isuzu guys,
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to like imagine there being Isuzu guys, but I mean, there always is a version of that. So there's definitely a Fiero guy that's going to be into this.
Oh, for sure. And collector cars are getting weird too. You're looking at like Fox body Mustangs, how expensive those have gotten.
Yeah.
Formula Fieros have been going across the auction block in very good condition, by the way, but they've started going for the 8, 9, 10, 11,000 range.
So it's tough for me to put on a number as a collector item or anything. I have no way to even base this. So I'm just going to go straight to 2 houses down. This is in the front yard. He has a for sale sign on it. What price does it have to be before I go over and give him the money?
So you're not even going to try market value.
I just have no way. I mean, it's not really a Fiero anymore.
Fire up that crystal brain and just pull a number out of your ass.
Honestly, somebody gives him 10.5. Like, he's not getting 15 for this. It's just, I'm going to go with your, if they're going 8, 9 for the GTs, give them a touch more for this. If this went to some kind of fancy car auction, I'm going to go 10.5. Dude's going to end up going out, but he's going to pay 11, 12 for it after auction fees. But 10.5 is my number on that, I guess. And I'm a shot in the dark. But what I'm really interested in, Andy, is for you is this is 2 houses down. It's in the front yard. It's got the for sale sign leaned up against it. At what number do you go over and get this car?
I want to hear yours first.
This is a tough one for me. It's a tough one for me because at a certain point, it's like, is there any investment value for me on this? Could I resell it?
I have a number locked in, actually. I do. I have a number already locked in.
At a certain price, like, do I gamble it? I mean, you're not racing this. Like, what are you doing with it? So it's hard for me to throw a number on this. I'm not even proud to, like, I don't even want to get this and just cruise. Like, I don't want to drive around in this.
Oh man, I wish we could have hit up Sean Kastner before this because,
I know we should have. Oh, the Pontiac jokes and Sean Kastner go back. I'm going to go $3,000. I'm thinking about it.
Okay.
I mean, the paint's good. It's in great condition, but yeah, $3,000's me walking over and talking to him. I feel like 2,500's where I say, okay, I'll do it. And even then, I don't know why. I'm kind of doing it thinking I want to resell it or something.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So here's where I'm at. I could see this selling for 9,000. I'm going 9,000 because this is not a desirable Fiero. It's not original. Yeah, it has some history. It's a funky, company from the UK that built these things, but it's not the performance version. It's the 2.8. It's an 88. This is not a high performance vehicle. If this was built on a Formula 3.4, I could see it going for higher. If it was on a Formula 3.4 and it had this body kit, I might be in the 14, 15,000 range and say, yeah, okay, because it was the top of the line Fiero. And then you have this weird coach built company that's putting a very interesting body kit on it. It's not good looking, but it's an interesting body kit. It's got an interesting history, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you start looking at these cars where they're just a basic car, they're nothing special, and there's an interesting history behind them, that's when I start dropping my expectations. I think 9,000 might even be too high, to be quite frank, because you have to start thinking about, is it a history worth following? And all the stuff that we're saying about the dude's definitely got a porn studio, and he definitely died before any of these cars were produced because he'd borrowed a bunch of money from the Russians, and he was, hopped up on coke, and he was trying to run away from the Russians. And they finally caught up with him, and they were like, "You owe us money. You borrowed $250,000. You now owe us, or we break legs." And he was just like, "Bring it, motherfucker!" And he pulled out a starter's pistol because he thought that was going to protect him. And then they just fucking light him up from head to toe, like they started his ankles and just fill him full of. There's only 32 of these produced, which is ironic because there were 32 bullets in him when he was found. That kind of a scenario.
Mm-hmm.
That's an interesting story. If it's just, this was a UK company, they had a dream, but they started with the worst car and it just fell flat on its face. That's not really an interesting story. Am I right?
Yeah, no, I get it.
So you need some kind of an interesting backstory.
It's better if there's a coke fueled story for sure. There needs to be like a DeLorean-esque
bingo. Yes.
thing to it.
Yes. Thank you. That is the perfect example. If we had a DeLorean-esque backstory to it, then I could see this fetching some serious money. The way it sits, I see at the most $9,000, because again, this is not.
No, I follow you.
This is not it's not the good car,
No,
it has a 5-speed manual, and it's good that it has the 5-speed manual. I'm glad for that. Right.
Yeah.
And as you've said before, horsepower adds zeros.
Yeah.
So imagine that this car had like an early North Star V8 in it. When did they start putting the North Star in the Cadillacs? Was it 94, 95?
It might even been 96, man. It was
so
out there ways.
I know that this is an impossible scenario, but I want you to start thinking a little bit about, what if we were looking at this and it did have a North Star V8 put in it and it was a manual?
Well, horsepower adds zeros. Like,
exactly.
Then I would change what I'm saying a lot. So
that would bring us closer to that 15. Yes?
And my personal number, my neighbor selling it, a Pontiac with a North Star V8 in it, also my number would go up a lot from 2,500.
Sure, of course. You'd be thinking 6,000. That's kind of a bargain.
Yeah.
I don't want to change the starter in it.
But that being said, it's not that, Andy.
Right.
And your neighbor's selling this thing.
I would need it no more than $2,500. I'm going low. I know that's a low ball number.
That's kind of me. I'm like starting at 25. Like,
yeah.
I go look at it and I'm like, I'm doing that wind suck through the teeth thing,
Yeah.
Trying to think of how angry my wife's going to be. Like, I'm trying to think, do I even fucking want this? It's not really a pile of shit, but it's like, why would I want this?
It's not fun to take it to track at this point.
It's not fun to take the track. It's not fun to go to a car show.
Right.
It's not cool to go to like a cruise in, like it's not cool to go cruising downtown on Saturday night. Like there's nothing to do with this car.
I am going to put a little bit of a spin on it. I know that we shouldn't be doing this, but I just want to give a little bit of context to my $2,500 mark.
Mm-hmm.
If my neighbor had this down the street, and granted, I mean, consider me with a full shop and all my tools, and I had the time to work on it. Okay. I want to kind of caveat all of this. At $2,500, I would buy this, and then I would go out and I would pick up a supercharged 3.8, and I would throw it in the back of this, and we would do a much smaller pulley, and we do a standalone engine management system, some simple mega squirt, right? We'd get it up to about 400 horsepower.
Okay.
I would put whatever real suspension in the Fiero world looks like. I don't even know. I mean, surely you can get some kind of suspension upgrades. But basically, this would become my goal with it would be 400 wheel horsepower and suspension good enough to at least get me around the track without me feeling like I was going to wad the thing up. You got me?
Gotcha.
Because Fiero's essentially it's the front of a K car smashed against the front of a K car.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize that the early Fieros, they actually had holes in the hubs where drive lines would be. It literally is 2 K cars, the front only, and the front has the back of the car has an engine in it, but it is the front of a K car. Yeah. And then the front is the front of a K car with no engine in it. And they were just smushed together. That's a Fiero. All right. So again, I don't even know if you could get real suspension modifications to make this thing handle well. But if you could, I would do that. I would do the engine swap. Again, supercharged 3.8 is going to set me back $800-900. Okay, right? It's not going to be that much. Suspension modifications are not going to be that much. The mega squirt's going to be a couple thousand. But here's the thing. The reason why I'm doing that is because I think that would put this in a more collector point. Because having just the stock Fiero with the 2.8, this is a garbage can of a car.
See, I'm going to go a little different than you. If I did get this from my neighbor.
And don't forget the fire risk.
Well, yeah. If I get this from my neighbor for $2,000, I'm going to need for speed underground this so hard.
Really?
I'm going to go full underglow. I'm going to flamethrower the exhaust. I'm not going to change this motor. I may go extra thick head gaskets, and then I'm going to put all the nitrous on it.
Nah, man, just throw that fucking motor out. I understand what you're saying, but the 2.8
I don't really want
worth
it to be fast, though. I just want to be able to dump 150 shot of nitrous on it.
You want to be able to purge nitrous through that big open front end, don't you?
Yeah. Like underglow. These wheels are pretty neat for speed underground anyways, but I may try and amp it up. You know what I mean? That's the only thing I can see doing with this.
From this photo, does it look like there's some positive positive camber happening?
There could be, or there's an insane amount of tire stretch on those rims where I'm seeing so much edge of rim.
Compare the front and the back wheel. This looks like it is sticking out from the top.
I'm not going to argue against it. Yeah, it could definitely have some positive camber going on. It has different wheels in every picture I've noticed as well.
And I think the black wheels look better, but again, those look like they are cambered. Is it negative or positive? It's positive,
That'd be
right?
Positive, yeah.
I think that in order to get $15,000 out of this car, you would need to do an engine swap. Personally, it needs 400 horsepower if you want to get $15,000 out of it.
Yeah, it's a steaming pile of trash, honestly, for me.
I think so too.
Yeah, that's all I have to say. I don't know what else to say about this thing. It's hideous.
But Coy, that's why we do the Smoking Dealer, Smoking a Doob. It's because we want people who know what they're talking about to reach out to us. We want to know, is it a deal? Is it a doob? Are you way into Fieros and you know that it's going to be worth a lot more than what we're saying here? I want
Sean Kastner to get on our page and kind of tell us what it's worth.
We're going to go ahead and throw this up on the page, and I'm going to tag him because I want to know what his thoughts are about this thing, where he lands on the price. And of course, I want to know where every one of you lands on the price. Is it a deal? Is it a doob? Are we way off base, or do we know what we're talking about? Hit us up in the comments. We always do want that with the Smoking Dealer, Smoking a Doob, and we always do appreciate you doing that for us. But for now, that's what we got here.
Smoking Deal or Smoking a Doobie.
Coy, oh my gosh, my eyes are assaulted.
A lot of range in this show.
Yeah,
I mean, murder, suicides, me almost pooping my pants, Fiero, fucking blah.
A lot of diesel truck
stuff,
talk.
Diesel truck talk. Like we circled the mountain.
Yeah, we've been all over the range here, you know?
Yeah.
There is only one place on the range you need to be, and that is following The Horsepower Hour on Facebook. It's facebook.com/The Horsepower Hour. Groups is the same thing. just add groups in there, facebook.com/group/the horsepower hour group. We do implore you, please do come and join that group because we have a lot of really neat, really fun things going on over there. And I think you're going to enjoy it a lot. We're almost at 400 members over there, and we're being a little selective with who we bring into the group too. So if you want to join the group, come on over, man. Jump in here. We will go ahead and bring you in. We want to see that. And while you're on Facebook, go and check out our sponsor, Santa Ana Powder Coating. Santa Ana Powder Coating is facebook.com/Santa Ana Powder Coating. And of course, their phone number is in the description. And of course, if you want that 20% off of your powder coating, go and leave us a review. We're also going to do some other things. I got some old Sport Compact car magazines. We got some t-shirts. We're going to be building a whole package for the winter. So it's not just going to be the 20% off your powder coating. You're going to get some other really fun, really cool looking stuff. I got a couple of fun plushies. I got that nitrous bottle plushie. We're going to be giving away to someone that wins this package. So don't sleep on it. Go out, especially if you're listening to the podcast right now. Go out.
The
and leave that
podcast is
review.
over. Like, just stay with us another 30 seconds. Go write the review.
Yeah, go write that review, man. We want to see it, and you can enter to win. We'll send you over if you're out of state and you can't use that powder coating coupon. Just let us know. We will hook you up, man. We are going to set this thing up. We want to see that, and we are going to be running specials not only for Santa Ana Powder Coating, but also for the podcast all summer long. And we do want to see those reviews coming in. So please do that. And thank you in advance for doing that. Coy, we've been all over the board, man, but it's always a good time. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to talk to Coy, you can hit him up on the Horsepower Hour on Facebook, also at the Horsepower Hour on Instagram. That's also where you can find me. Is there anything else you got going on?
I got nothing going on. We have somebody asking, I already wrote a review. Can I write another?
Hell yeah. Write another one. We don't mind. Throw it up there and you are entered to win, my friend. Coy, as always, thank you, my friend. Thank you guys out there for tuning in. Thanks for telling a friend about the podcast. And for F. Coy Forticus and Masterson, Junior Senior Esquire, Duke of Earl Grey, our resident pumpkin slut, this is Andy. We will see you next time.